Right, Rangers fans, strap yourselves in because today's headlines are an absolute roller coaster. We've got everything from a do-or-die game for Philippe Clement to big questions over James Tavernier's future. Could this really be the end of the line for our captain? Plus, a Rangers hero opens up on the fight of his life. And I'm not just talking about his days on the pitch. We're diving into the latest transfer whispers too. Lawrence Shankland's made his move, and it might be a step closer to Ibrox. Oh, and speaking of Clement, wait until you hear what he had to say about one of our rising stars. Could we be looking at the next big name to carry the team forward? Stick around because I've got some questions for you that'll really get you thinking and arguing in the comments. Let's get into it. So, Philippe Clement's made it crystal clear, hasn't he? He's tied himself to Rangers for the long haul, even with all this Belgium job chatter swirling about. Fair play to him, giving it the full "I'm not interested" routine when asked about taking over his national side. You'd think he'd be tempted, what with the Belgium gig, offering less chaos than trying to rebuild Rangers after the absolute shambles left behind. Still, he's doubling down on staying at Rangers, which is either commendable loyalty or sheer stubbornness, depending on how you look at it. And let's not ignore the cheeky undertone here. The Belgium press are clearly circling because Domenico Tedesco's on thin ice. Rangers fans will remember him from our Europa League run against Leipzig. Can you imagine if Tedesco took the fall and Clement went running? The irony would be thicker than a pie at the Loudon Tavern. Thing is, Clement's got a mountain to climb here at Rangers. The squad's a patchwork mess, and the boardroom's reportedly looking enviously over at Celtic's supposed success in the transfer market, a functional player trading model. All right then, but the pressure's all on Clement to deliver something resembling a turnaround. And while he's saying all the right things now, you've got to wonder how long the romance lasts if the results don't follow. So here's one for you, Rangers faithful. If Clement sticks it out but the board doesn't back him in January, are we setting ourselves up for another rebuild next summer? Or worse, another manager hunt? Well, here we are talking about James Tavernier again. Captain Tav, the man who's seen it all at Rangers, might be at a crossroads. Chris Boyd's stirring the pot, as always, suggesting that if Tavernier's not starting against Dundee United today, it could signal the beginning of the end. Bit dramatic, but you've got to admit the writing might be on the wall if Clement's edging him out. We know Tav's had his critics, but let's not forget the man's been one of the most reliable players we've had in years. Penalty spot, heroics, crunch moments in Europe, and sticking with us through thick and thin, even when the backline's been shakier than a post-match pint. But if Dujon Sterling's getting the nod at right back, especially after this international break, it raises a question. Where does Tavernier fit into Clement's plans? It's not just about this weekend's team sheet though, is it? If Tavernier finds himself benched more often than not, you'd imagine he'll start looking elsewhere, whether that's January or next summer. And don't kid yourself, the board will have a say in this too. And a January exit might bring in a few quid, while waiting till summer could mean a proper farewell. Either way, the club won't rush this one, but the signs aren't looking great for the skipper's long-term future. So here's the big question for you lot. Has Tav's time at Rangers run its course, or would it be madness to let the captain walk away while we're still rebuilding? John Souttar's turning heads, isn't he? The lad's gone from being a solid addition to one of the standout players, both for Rangers and Scotland. Philippe Clement can't stop singing his praises, and rightly so. Souttar's grafting away on the training pitch, polishing up his so-called working points. Nice touch, gaffer. And the results are plain to see. Whether it's keeping things tight at the back or stepping up in big moments, he's starting to look like the future leader we've been crying out for. And what a turnaround for Souttar. Not too long ago, folk were wondering if he'd ever shake the injury woes and inconsistent form. Now, he's being called super important, potentially in line for a new contract, and even touted as a future captain. That's some journey. If the club's serious about tying him down long-term, they'd better get a move on. Players of his caliber don't hang about when they're on form and getting noticed. Souttar himself is keeping it professional, of course, with the usual just focusing on football chat. Fair enough, but you'd hope the board doesn't let this drag out. We've seen it too often, key players getting snapped up because someone upstairs took their sweet time. So here's a fiery one for you, Rangers faithful. With Souttar emerging as a leader, do we stick the armband on him sooner rather than later and start building a team around him, or would that be an insult to the current captain while he's still here? Well, it looks like Lawrence Shankland's got his bags half packed already, hasn't he? The Hearts skipper's made it clear, no contract, no stay. You've got to respect the honesty, even if it's left Hearts fans choking on their pies. For us lot, though, this could be a golden opportunity. If Rangers want him, January's the time to pounce. Hearts might try to play hardball, but let's be real. They won't want to lose him for nothing come summer. Shankland's a proven goal scorer, and at 29, he's smack in the middle of his prime. Rangers have sniffed around him before, and with the squad needing more firepower up top, it feels like the stars are aligning. If we can get him at a cut price deal, all the better. Who doesn't love a bit of smart business to wind up the rest of the league? That said, he's no Alfredo Morelos in terms of style, and some might question if Shankland's the level of player we need to push us forward in Europe and domestically. But given Clement's apparent hunger for players who graft and know the league, he might be just the ticket. So here's one for the Rangers fans to chew over. Is Shankland the striker to help us catch Celtic, or should we be aiming for someone with a bigger pedigree to lead the line? Scott Nisbet's story is one of those that makes you stop and take a moment, doesn't it? From a cult hero, i.e. at Rangers, to battling stage 4 cancer and now receiving the all clear, it's the kind of journey that puts football rivalries, injuries, and even the highs of Champions League glory into sharp perspective. The man's been through the ringer and come out the other side with a perspective most of us can only imagine. Who could forget that iconic fluke against Brugge, the kind of moment that every footballer dreams of, even if it takes a divot and a twist of fate to make it happen? It's etched into Rangers folklore, the kind of thing fans bring up on rainy nights with a pint in hand, and yet for all his career highs, it's his resilience off the pitch that truly inspires. Fighting cancer, flying solo between Lanzarote and Gran Canaria for treatment during lockdown, and now dedicating his time to running a soccer school for kids. He's showing the same grit and determination that made him a fan favorite back at Rangers. Even his humor's intact, held together by duct tape, he says, but it's clear that heart and determination are what's keeping him going. And despite all the pain, his career ending too soon, the surgeries, and the fear of not seeing his kids again, he speaks with zero bitterness. Instead, there's pride. Pride in pulling on that Rangers shirt, pride in being part of an era filled with legends, and pride in still having something to give back to the game he loves. Now, here's the kicker, one to get folk talking. With Nisbet's incredible resilience and passion for Rangers, do you think the club should find a way to honor him properly? Maybe a role with the club to inspire the next generation? Or is that kind of sentimental gesture not the Rangers way? Well, things aren't exactly sunny at Rangers right now, are they? The talk of Philippe Clement being one bad result away from the sack has turned the heat right up. After just over a month in the job, the idea of showing him the door already feels like a knee-jerk reaction. But when you're 9 points behind Celtic, 3 losses in 11 games and barely scraping by in Europe. The numbers don't lie. The board must be sweating too. With a whopping £17.2 million in the red, they're not exactly sitting on a pile of cash to throw at another rebuild. If Clement does get the boot, it's not just about replacing him, it's about finding the money to pay off his contract and bring someone else in. That's where the Belgium job could be a blessing in disguise for Rangers, though. If the national team comes calling and Clement jumps ship, the club avoids the payout. But let's face it, having your manager poached by Belgium because your own house is in chaos, hardly the proudest moment. Saturday's clash against Dundee United feels like a season-defining match now. A win could buy Clement some time, but anything less, and it could be curtained. But here's the bigger issue. Even if Clement goes, is the next manager coming into a better situation, or are they just being handed the same sinking ship? Here's the million-pound question for you. Is sacking Clement now a way to salvage the season, or are we just repeating the same mistakes and burning through managers without fixing the real problems upstairs? Comment below what you think about the news. Don't forget to leave a like on the video to help me out. I post videos every day talking about our Rangers, so if you're not subscribed, you're missing out on the latest news. See you soon.